What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for July 26, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Quick housekeeping note before we get started with today's episode. Be sure to check out last week's Back to the Future. We take a look at the 01 through 06 Phillies and examine why they just could not get over the hump. I will be recording a new episode hopefully this afternoon, so stay tuned for that. I'll either post it depending on what I do with the kids after they get done camp later tonight or at some point tomorrow, but be on the lookout for that. I have a lot of good things on the horizon coming. I have some meetings this week, so stay tuned. The best way to stay in the loop for Back to the Future and This Day in Philly Sports History is just like and subscribe both podcasts. That way when new things drop or new things come down the pike, you're the first to know. Great win for the Phils yesterday. And I keep saying it, but it's because it's true, and they keep saying it. There's a lot of fight in this team, and you can never necessarily count them out no matter what the score is, what the situation is, how shitty they're playing. And yesterday was a perfect example of that. They weren't playing well, I guess you could say, or they weren't hitting well. Tawan Walker didn't have his best stuff, but he battled. And I'd like to see that out of him. The fact that he pitched decent without having his best stuff and really struggled and worked is a testament to the fight and just the will of this team. The top of the orders hasn't been doing much, and I think it's no secret. There's been a ton of talk about Trey Turner, but at the same time, Schwarber, a lot of people are getting on him for his average. Bryce has not been that great. Castellanos has been in a little bit of slump. They're putting in the work. They're trying to get out of it. But the fact that late in that game, I saw something in Bryce, the fact that I think it's huge that he's playing first base now, because I saw something different in him I haven't seen really in a while, and that's that fight. And going back to like last postseason, like he was fired up, and you could tell that this game was important to him, and he's the catalyst that kind of sparked it all along there in the ninth. So great walk-off win. I like where this team is headed. They're not playing their best right now, and they're still right there in the thick of it. So I said the other day, this is a pivotal week. They can come out now and win the series against the Orioles this evening, and that'll go a long way heading into this week's series against Pittsburgh, who they've been struggling. Pittsburgh looks like they're selling. So if you can win this and then take at least 2 out of 3 from Pittsburgh heading into the trade deadline, you're in good shape. Some good/bad news, I guess you could call it. Good in the sense that it was successful. Bad in the sense that he had to have the surgery. But Andrew Painter's Tommy John surgery yesterday was a success. He's expected to be out 15 to 18 months, which essentially puts him in line to be ready for spring training in 2025. And again, he's young, so hopefully I wish him the best in rehab. Hopefully that all goes well, and we're looking at our ace of the future. But good to know that surgery was successful. All right, if you're looking for more Phillies coverage, check out our friends at 2008 Phils. They have the world's biggest Phillies email newsletter. It's a must-read. This week, I should say, yesterday they had a guest post, and he talked something very similar to what we did on Back to the Future, where they kind of ranked and rated each of the non-playoff teams in the 2000s. So be sure to check that out. It's definitely an interesting take. Brought up some points that I didn't cover in Back to the Future. But for a limited time, they are offering 75% off a subscription specifically for This Day in Philly Sports History listeners. Follow the link in the description, and it'll take you to your 75% off link. What that gets you is access to all the posts, so you'll get it delivered directly to your email box. Whatever you need. I'm working on something else with them where I might be able to give somebody a free 1-month subscription, so stay tuned for that. But you have access to the chat. It's a good community on there as well. You get the '08 championship banner t-shirt. 2008 Phils will follow your Twitter account, which is great if you're trying to increase your following and your presence on social media. Access to special giveaways, tickets, autographs, memorabilia, that type of thing. And it's all for $2 a month. or just pay $20 for the year and get even more of a discount. And again, the content itself is worth the $20, and then you get that awesome t-shirt on top of it. So check out the link in the description specifically for This Day in Philly Sports History listeners for 75% off of your order. And stay tuned either later this week or early next week for a possible giveaway. So stay tuned for that. All right, as the Sixers turn, or as the Harden turns, I should say, not really much on the James Harden front. I know there was a lot of talk about his interview with, it was Clutch Sports, I think it was, and how he was talking about the Dame Lillard, saying he gets both sides. And I don't know, again, if somehow he was talking about his own situation or what. So everybody was talking about that yesterday on social media. But Nick Nurse had a big comment about B-Ball Paul and said he could see him fitting the Pascal Siakam role that he had when he was in Toronto, which is interesting, kind of like the do-everything role. And I think with Nick Nurse's history and the fact that he gets the most out of players, I'm wondering now if part of the reason, even though they had signed the other big guys, part of the reason he wanted, or they did match Utah's offer for B-Ball Paul was because he wanted and was intrigued by him. So anxious to see. It's going to be an interesting rest of the offseason leading into training camp. But we'll keep you updated every day here on This Day in Philly Sports History. Quick Union update. They play their second group stage match today against Querétaro, I think it is, from the Mexican League. Hopefully they can win, and they'll be moving on to the knockout stage next week. But I think it's Querétaro. They're down at Subaru Park in Chester. All right, today we are going to go back to the year 2000. And on this day, July 26, 2000, the Phillies were basically out of it. They were 16 games back of the Braves for the division, 10 games back of the Mets for the wild card. They were actually in the midst of a 65-97 season. They would finish 29 games back of the Mets for the wild card, 30 games back of the Braves for the division. As mentioned last week on Back to the Future, this was Tito Francona's last year. God, I hate him. But on this day, they started to plan for their future. They traded Curt Schilling to the Arizona Diamondbacks for Travis Lee, Omar Daal, Vincente Padilla, and Nelson Figueroa. And Schilling, in all told, he spent 9 years in Philly, 101 wins, 3.35 ERA, 61 complete games, 14 shutouts, over 1,500 Ks, and he was just a workhorse. Led the league in innings a few times during that span, was always one of the league leaders in that. Had that amazing postseason run in 93. He went 1-1 with a 2.59 ERA, 28 strikeouts in 31 and a third innings pitched. Had that epic Game 5 complete game shutout. He would go on, unfortunately, not with the Phillies, to win 3 World Series, 1 in Arizona and then 2 in Boston. In a rare twist, I guess, to certain things, this trade ended up working out well for both teams because Travis Lee, Omar Daal, Vincente Padilla, and Nelson Figueroa all contributed to the Phillies, at least in some form, throughout their time after the trade. Vincente Padilla was one of the staples in that rotation that we talked about from the 01 through 06 teams. But on this day, it was saying goodbye to one of our legends. Curt Schilling was traded today to the Arizona Diamondbacks for Travis Lee, Omar Daal, Vincente Padilla, and Nelson Figueroa in 2000. Yesterday was the Cole Hamels appreciation post. Today is the Curt Schilling appreciation post. I know he's come under fire a lot for some of the comments and things he's done since his retirement, but we'll leave that for a whole different genre of podcast. All right. You know who has not caught fire or has not come under heat for their things post-retirement? That's Philly Goat. If we're getting ready for training camp, is in full swing for the Eagles. You have the Phillies heating up. It's back to school shopping, and they just have a ton of everything. So be sure to check out phillygoat.com for all your Philly sports apparel needs. They won't let you down. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. We can talk about them on this podcast, not different genres because of what they've done. But go to phillygoat.com, check them out. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. You will not be disappointed. Okay, we mentioned training camp. Yesterday was the first day of Eagles practice, or today is the first day, I should say, of Eagles practice. Everybody reported yesterday, and truthfully, there wasn't much to report. Everybody's talking about the Eagles hangover, or Super Bowl hangover, and while, yeah, it's a real thing, obviously, it's been in 50 years, one team has lost and gone back and won it, and that was the Patriots. But if anybody can do it, I think Jalen Hurts has that mindset. And as to borrow Nick Sirianni's line, that dog mentality, that if anybody's going to do it, I would bet on Jalen Hurts to do it. We got a long way to go. I'm not ready to make my prediction or anything like that. I'm just saying, if anybody is going to break that 50-year-old Super Bowl hangover curse or whatever you want to call it, put your money on Jalen Hurts to do it. All right. And speaking of the Eagles and previewing for the season, next month on this day in Philly sports history for August through the 31 days, I'm going to focus on a different question for this team leading into the season. So be sure to check that. I know we've been doing a lot of Phillies for the month of July, but August we kind of start shifting gears and we'll be talking about the Eagles. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And as I said, just go ahead and like and subscribe. That way you don't even have to worry about it. Things get delivered, you get notified, and all of that. As I mentioned, for July, we've been doing the Philly Sports Most Lovable Loser Tournament. We are slowly getting to the end. We have our first member of the Final Four in the Eagles Regional, and it wasn't even close. I am shocked, to be completely honest, by the score of this. The 2022 Eagles dominated the 2002 Eagles with 88% of the vote. I thought it would be closer. Both teams are disappointing. And again, I don't think you could have gone wrong with either team. So representing the Eagles in the Final Four will be the 2022 Eagles. Today, we are going to crown our the Flyers regional winner. And this is who the 2022 Eagles will take on. It's the number 3 96-97 Flyers versus the number 5 86-87 Flyers. The 96-97 Flyers beat both the 09 and 10 teams, as well as my favorite, the 99-2000 team. They were 45-24-13, second in the Atlantic. They were third seed overall in the East. They got off to a slow start because of Eric Lindros' injury. That was the Legion of Doom line. They rolled to the Stanley Cup Finals only to get trounced by the Detroit Red Wings because they forgot how to score. And I could say that this was probably, and this is all about disappointment and lovable losers, this was the high point of the Eric Lindros era in Philadelphia. It did not get any better despite everything. And there might be a little something on the Flyers on today's Back to the Future, but stay tuned for that. They're taking on the 86-87 team. To get here, they beat the 84-85 and the 86-87 team. Basically, I'm sorry, not the 86-87 team, 84-85 and 85-86 team. They went 46-26-8 with an incredible 29-9-2 record at home. They won the Patrick Division going away by 14 points. They were one season removed from that Pelle Lindbergh tragedy. Hextall, though, won the Vezina and the Conn Smythe Trophy that year. They lost to the Oilers 4-3 in the Stanley Cup Finals. The future was bright, or so we thought. If the 96-97 team was the high point of the Eric Lindros era, I would argue that everybody thought Hextall was the next coming and was going to be the goalie the Flyers were looking for to kind of fill in the void that they had been searching for since Bernie Parent. This was the high point of the Ron Hextall era. Never got much better for Ron Hextall. Played this out on What If Sports. And it was a battle. Both teams, they were very evenly matched. It ended 5-5. And then on the tiebreaker game, the 86-87 Flyers won on the road to win the tiebreaker. So now it's your turn. Who wins the Flyers regional? Is it the 86-87 team or the 96-97 team? Be sure to get your vote to me any way you can. Smoke signal. The total tally. Now we're getting there. More people are voting, so keep it coming. Looking forward to seeing what the first day of Eagles training camp brings today. Stay tuned for Back to the Future. Check out our friends at 2008 Phillies as well as Philly GOAT. On this day in 2000, the Phillies traded Curt Schilling to the Arizona Diamondbacks for Travis Lee, Vincente Padilla, Omar Daal, and Nelson Figueroa. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.